never a bad idea to merge with nature. We are nature, right? And we are of nature. And when you do nature merging, talking about the benefits of nature merging, you essentially remind yourself and your body that you are part of nature. And the benefit of that, of course, is that first of all, it regulates your body, it regulates your nervous system. It reminds you that you're part of cycles and rhythms. And, you know, there's a biorhythm, and there's circadian rhythms, and there's ultradian rhythms, right? There's all kinds of rhythms that happen, regardless if you are hormonally in, let's say in a ovulation, menstruation phase, or in a post-menopausal phase. Makes no difference. You still have all these rhythms. You even have those body rhythms. You might not have the actual ovulation and menstruation anymore, but the thing is still there. And so, and sunrise and sunset and the tides and stuff like that. I don't know about you, but on this land, because it's so wild and there isn't people around, you can very quickly, within a day or two, you can tell the flux of nature, right, and the tides and everything, if you pay a little bit of attention. So wild land, of course, or beaches or things like that, mountains, where you can really get a sense of where the light rises, where the light goes down, where you see also the seasons and everything that happens. Since I've been here, the fig tree by my little place has started, the buds have started opening just within a few days. Right? And it's like so intense when you see it was completely dead and brown, and now there's the first leaves are showing up. And that's what nature merging does, is it gives you an appreciation of the arising of nature within you and also outside of you. So it's hugely healing. It reconnects you to your body, connects you to your cycles, and it's a good thing to do. It's also aesthetically beautiful, meaning it enlivens the senses to look at a fire or smell a beautiful flower or whatever. It's a nice thing to engage with. Because of the way the body works, these are markers that orient the body in space, in time and space, so to speak. And that's something that you can, I don't know how the word would be, you can put attention to, and you can actually attune the body to those rhythms. So there's a lot of work that has been done in the last couple of years on early morning sun exposure. Right, so for those of you who don't know this, you hear me talk about this all the fucking time, because I'm like, that's been a game changer for me, like absolute game changer, because I really ruined my rhythms during the early days of the pandemic when I continued teaching the women's groups and the study groups in the time zones where the people were. So for the Amsterdam study group, I got up at 12:30 a.m. and I started on Zoom at 1 a.m. and I ended at 7 a.m. and then I did the afternoon session for the other people. And so it was really, really excruciating how much my body got messed up. Yeah. Because then, of course, that goes on the adrenals, and then that goes on the female hormones, and then you get, particularly when you're perimenopausal or menopausal, you'll get lots of disruptions from the light disruption. So early morning sun exposure gets a low angle sunlight that has a very specific color into your eyes. It's called something melanopsin cells. People, even blind people, have melanopsin cells. And those melanopsin cells, as the word says, then 16 hours later start producing melatonin. So they have to be activated in the morning to produce melatonin for sleep at night. So if you want to have proper sleep-wake cycles that go with the body, you'll have early morning sun exposure, and then what you can do is in the evening as the sun goes down, you'll do it again. That's a different light temperature, and it makes the body know the sun is going down. And there's something really interesting, which, by the way, is the reason why people can't sleep once they do devices at night, is that essentially when that low light sun exposure comes in, there's this thing where you have they sometimes call it the camp mechanism, where you get a surge of energy. And that surge of energy is there so you can find a place to sleep at night. Like when you are, nomadic or so. You get that last surge so you can find a safe place to camp. And then it gets dark and you sleep and then you wake up with the sunrise and so on. So when you do light too late at night, you get that surge that says, okay, we got to bed down, but you want to sleep and then you can't. And there's like lots of stuff there. So that said, yes, of course. Early morning sunlight, afternoon sunlight, obviously never look directly in the sun. I mean, that should be apparent. And then if it's overcast like today, you can still do it, but you have to do it longer. So instead of 5 minutes, you do 20. It's hard for us in the life we live with credit cards and, sustenance and the luxuries of having housing and free travel, and we can hop on a plane, a train, an automobile, go here, go there. It's hard for us, I think, to fully understand what it must have been like for the women that you're talking about, who, as you well know, right, up till the 1970s, women weren't even allowed to have their own credit cards. And very often when a woman would get divorced, or if she could even get divorced, all that was left for her was her jewelry. And if you had to leave town, because there was a pogrom or a war or a famine, all you had to grant your survival were your jewels. And your jewels were given to you specifically, usually by your mother, as a way to ensure some semblance of safety and sanity and, something that was just hers, because no man would wear the jewelry, of course, right? And it was given as a dowry, or it was given as a present. So what these jewels actually represent is safety and feminine sovereignty, and a place of having something of beauty that could not be usurped, so to speak, by a husband or and then if the going got really tough, you could trade something. My grandmother told me that when she fled from where my grandmother and my mother ended up during World War II, all she had was a bag with one of my mother's outfits and a pair of shoes, and she had one change of underwear for herself and the dress she wore. But the thing that she did have is she had her wedding ring and she had 2 or 3 pieces of jewelry. And in making her way with a bicycle with a 1-year-old down country roads that were being bombed, she traded some of this jewelry for food for herself and her child, my mother, right? Because my grandfather was gone by then. And she thought he was dead. He was actually imprisoned, but it's a long, very complicated story. But she had a thing about jewelry and she always had a lot of jewelry, and jewelry was very, very important to her, because to her that symbolized the ability to actually create safety and have something of leverage in a world that felt incredibly destructive and unsafe and heartbreaking. She had a newborn when my grandfather was dragged out of the house for having refused to join the army, and which was a big deal in Germany in 19 whatever, so her entire life came crumbling down. Right, the house was bombed. She came back from trying to get some food, and where the house used to be was a crater, and she thought my mother was in there. That kind of shit that makes somebody, after today's circumstances, we'd say, severe PTSD. Back then, you just had to carry on, right? And my grandmother was quite damaged from those traumas, and not a very pleasant woman, and certainly had a lot of stuff around jewelry, but that's where it came from. And so it's very likely that the familial patterns of being a bit weird about jewelry are from that place. having something of value that's just theirs, having something that can't be taken, having something that's leverage. And so from your place of, relative cushy life, where you probably never in your life have gone hungry, if other than for a fast or a detox or something like that, right? Just not quite the same. It's easy to kind of look down on that a bit. And I think my invitation for you would be to find the compassion for that non-sovereign place in the women in your family that made them so attached to something that to you holds no value, right? So now you have this chunk of gold, and I would suggest you maybe do something nice with it and reframe it into something that maybe you can give to your daughter as a thing of beauty and not a thing of insurance, right? And there's, beautiful goldsmiths out there. I'll show you. I bought a necklace that's made out of all different animals that look kind of vaguely Etruscan. It's very, very gorgeous by this jeweler who sometimes comes to the workshops. You could do something that's pure delight and beauty that you can pass on, where it's transmuted properly from a place of danger to a place of beauty and enjoyment. That's probably what I would do. Because you put it in the earth, your ancestors are spinning in their graves, and that's not necessary because it's not like they did something wrong, so to speak. I think you could probably make an offering that calms those women, and reframes those things for them in a way that gives you peace as well. So that would be my take on it.